Wouldn't it be funny if this battle actually mattered? What's up guys, I love Hansu, and here we are to do a quick discussion on whether or not Takaba versus Kenjaku actually matters within the grand scheme of things. And I'm actually going to try and make this quick. I'm going to try and challenge myself today and actually do a relatively quick video, so I do not want to waste any more time editing me. I summon thee to this plane of existence. Ready? 3, 2, 1, go. What's up guys, I love Hansu here. Fun fact. I have it on me, and I keep it on me at all times. And another fun fact, yeah, the battle matters. I mean, like, on multiple levels. Multiple levels that aren't... I mean, it's not necessarily too complicated, but it's complicated enough that I get why a lot of people feel like it's a filler fight, and why I myself even thought it was a filler fight at first, and why I technically... ironically enough, legally speaking, if I were to, like, legally classify it as something, it would be a filler fight, but it's not a filler fight that's, like, bad filler. In fact, dare I say, it's necessary filler on numerous different levels, from character levels to meta-narrative levels to literally every single level imaginable. And let's talk about why this funny little fella against this other funny little fella is actually super duper important for the grand scheme of the narrative. So, Takaba versus Kenjaku. This is a battle in particular that has had a lot of the community going a little bit insane, if you will. I cannot really classify the JJK fandom as a whole right now as somewhat sane, either on this platform or any other platform. Obviously, the I'd win phenomena has evolved drastically based off the week break that we're on right now, and a lot of people have been very, let's just say, unkind to this battle right here. Sure, you definitely have certain moments that get a whole lot of fun play by the community, and a lot of moments that characters inside the series, such as Takaba and Kenjaku, and people outside the series greatly appreciate. The Bandit Keith reference, something that I didn't understand, because, I don't know, it's just not my demographic. But with it being the case, why does the battle actually matter, right? Like, this is cool stuff, nice ideas, but obviously the whole community doesn't care about it. Gege, at least to some degree, you can argue on an artistic level, has softened up a little bit on the intensity of the art and stuff like that. And obviously, the scale has dropped down drastically, even with certain important moments like this prequel. Well, I guess it's kind of a prequel chapter, but it sort of starts the battle between Takaba and Kenjaku. Even this chapter in particular doesn't seem to have the most insane scale to it. Kenjaku's not using any fancy curses. Takaba's magical comedian abilities aren't kicking in all too much, at least not at the start. All these variations and stuff like that, they're there. This backstory for Takaba is nice. All this is cool and all, but, like, what does it genuinely do for the sake of the narrative? Number one, the most basic one. As much as I love Sukuna, as much as I love Itadori, as much as I love Higuruma, as much as I love the rest of the cast, whether it be Yuta, Maki, Hikari, they're the only relevant ones outside of Yuki. So, like, all of them, we were kind of on go for the past, not half a year, but like a hot minute now. We've been on go for a minute and a half. We've been tackling very, very, very heavy and very important plot stuff like this, like this, like this, like this, like this, like this, like this. Thusly, a narrative break is needed. Just genuinely needed in order to build up anticipation back to other more important and more, I hate to say this, but consequential battles. If we had just immediately leaped into Higuruma and Itadori versus Sukuna, anything afterwards would leave, I wouldn't say like a negative taste in people's mouths, but like it wouldn't hit the same. The Battle of Even Heck, I still remember when Kashimo versus Sukuna first began. That wasn't hitting the same for people just because of how the battle was actually beginning. Even with Kashimo's reveal of his curse technique, all the hype behind Kashimo, no matter what, there was going to be a drastic fall of interest once Gojo got, and we had to move on to a different battle. And with Kashimo versus Sukuna ending the way it did, as abruptly as it did, I think this fight acts as a necessary breather for not just the meta-narrative outside of us fan base, from high-intensity next-level battles containing all the different properties and facilities of cursed energy, but also Gege needs a break. Like, don't get me wrong, I've definitely been quite critical of Gege and either their certain writing decisions for certain characters or even their artistic decisions for certain chapters, but even with that being the case, this is very specifically a cooldown. It is something to help Kege, I hate to say it, but relax. I, once again, am not a mangaka. Never have been, never will be, don't have any plans to. Manga scares me, or at least making it does. And thusly, I can imagine this, all of this entire conflict, this entire backstory, all this establishment for Takaba is ultimately much easier to draw than anything he was drawing in Gojo vs. Sukuna. Anything he was drawing in Gojo, well, getting got. Anything he was drawing in Kashimo vs. Sukuna. And I assume, just based on how little we know, but how much we know about true form Sukuna and his abilities, and Higuruma and his abilities, and Yuji Itadori's many unknown abilities, I'm gonna assume that that battle is going to be pretty taxing, and it's going to be quite long. Like, quite long indeed. Don't get me wrong, do I think it will span as long as Gojo versus Sukuna? Not necessarily. The special conditions of Gojo versus Sukuna, due to one having basically unlimited curse energy in Gojo, and one having by far the highest amount of raw curse energy we've seen in the entire series, plus the best efficiency we've likely seen in the entire series in Sukuna, that sort of allowed an extended period of battle. And of course, that was constantly being interspersed with cutaways to the rest of the cast. So, do I think it'll be as long? No. But do I believe that it's going to be 5 chapters bare minimum? Most likely, if not more. And thusly, Gege kind of needs to soften the pen a little bit. They've been going a little bit too hard. The house is burning down just a bit too much. So this fight acting as a breather for that actually works a whole lot. But of course, this is all meta-narrative stuff. This is stuff that's outside the plot. What about inside the series? Why are we wasting time on this inside the narrative? Well, once again, Kenjaku had disappeared for a volume. Literally a volume. Like, he appears in 223 and I think he vanishes throughout that entire time period. And once again, I say this consistently, and it's fine if you disagree. And I even like the idea that there could be just 2 main villains, but Kenjaku is still a very important antagonist, and any extra characterization we get for him is just as important as any extra characterization Sukuna got. Though, admittedly, due to the nature of both of these characters, their characterization needs to come in very different ways. Ultimately, Gege would have trouble telling us anything about Kenjaku if it wasn't for a character who's nigh on indestructible at first, like Takaba. The beauty of Takaba when it comes to utilizing him as a plot device to establish other characters, in a very similar vein to Yuki, in a very similar vein to... That's spoilers for another series, but Yuki's the main example of Jujutsu Kaisen. Kenny is someone who is so powerful, so broken, yet so detached from the major conflict of Sukuna versus the crew, that using this fight as a way to further establish his motivations, reinforce his mentality, his personality, this kind of light-hearted madman, you kind of need that. And ultimately, the character work is what this fight, in my opinion, is all about. Gojo versus Sukuna does have character work in it. A lot of character work. Heck, it's Sukuna versus Kashimo is literally all character work. Verbatim. There's pretty much no other way to interpret that battle. But in particular, the character work being done here with Kenjaku and with Takaba is simply to establish what these characters are about. Admittedly, I do believe this is more Kenjaku's battle than it is Takaba's. I know we got a whole chapter. All 241 is about Takaba's internal crisis, but like, I don't... At best, the most overall hefty narrative impact I could see this comedian man having is starting the merger. Like, actually just straight up starting the merger. Like, that's the most comedian impact I could see him having, just due to the nature of his curse technique and how Kenjaku was able to manipulate people. And that's the main thing. So, in narrative, I believe the establishment, recontextualization, and reintroduction of Kenjaku is necessary. I've mentioned this before in my Kenjaku and Sukuna video on whether or not who I think is the main villain, and on top of another Kenjaku and Sukuna video, one of the most interesting dynamics in Jujutsu Kaisen. Those two are fundamentally opposed. We just had multiple months of Sukuna back to back to back to back. Like 15? Well, technically, if you go all the way back to 221, we left the battlefield at around 239. So 238 to 221, 17 chapters straight of Sukuna. the Kenny fatigue, or no, the Sukuna fatigue would start to kick in after a little bit. Even the finest Sukuna sloppers inside the Mississippi, all my people who also have their masters in Sukuna slopping, the impact of Sukuna would be lessened without a break from him, and the impact of Kenjaku would be diluted without a reminder of him. Once again, I mentioned this with Sukuna before, but it's kind of the jobber effect. We ultimately do need it reestablished that Kenjaku is Himothy. Don't get me wrong, Kenjaku has clearly established his Himothy nature before, fighting off a special grade curse in Choso, and fighting off a special grade sorcerer in Yuki Tsukumo, but the reestablishment of what Kenjaku excels best at, a battle of the mind against a battle of raw power, I think the juxtaposition is very, very important, and it's once again something that only Takaba and Kenjaku can provide, very specifically due to Takaba's punching bag nature as a character, and Kenjaku's willingness to engage with tomfoolery like Takaba's. This necessary character work is the other major reason why I believe this battle is important. It is necessary, and ultimately why I can understand people not caring for it. I can understand people kind of desyncing until Sukuna arrives, but I do think this is important. I do think this battle is going to have ramifications on Jujutsu Kaisen as a whole, and I think it could have major ramifications, or it could have minor ramifications, but regardless, the battle does matter. However, that's what I think. Those are my main reasons. There are obviously other things you could go into. Maybe we're going to get more about Kenjaku's technique, maybe we're going to get more about Takaba's technique, all the stuff like that, but those are what I think. Please let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. If you made it all the way to the end of this rather short video, at least short for me. I know some people are like, pencil. Really? But like, alright, leave me be. It's a short video for me. Leave the curse. Actually, no, no. That is too bad of a joke. Let me not do that one. Leave doesn't matter in the comment section down below. I want to thank you so much for watching. Remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe, and make sure you hit that little notification bell so you don't miss out on any videos that come to the channel. Also, I do have a Patreon down below. You store for as low as $1 a month. Get things like exclusive videos, early content, and more. You also want to become a member of the channel for as low as $3 a month to get the same perks and more. Now, I want to thank you guys so much for watching once again, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day. This is Dago the Pencil, writing off. I'd like to give a thank you to our $3 members, Recliner Plays and Red Bull 4765. I'd like to give another thank you to our $5 patrons, Winter, Victor, Sean, Midnight Gem Lord, Kevin, and Demix LND. I'd like to give a hefty old thank you to our $10 patrons, Robbie Uchiha, Joaquin, and Idem Okami. I'd like to give another final thank you to our $25 member, Alex Ice Rose. And a final scrumdiddlyumptious gargantuan thank you to our $25 patrons, Igneal and Calvin Elder.